We're moving on to the last session of today's demo stream. Very excited to welcome here Lawton Ursrey, who's the Chief Product Officer at UserIQ. He's going to tell us a little bit about why UserIQ and how UserIQ is making customer success a whole lot easier and how you can modernize your customer success practice with this tool. I really look forward to seeing this one. Over to you.
Great. Thank you, Morika. I'm really happy to be here with you today, and thanks for being a part of the session and sharing this with us. So really quick, I'll just give some quick background on myself. Been in CS for roughly the past 10 years in some shape or form, mostly running CS teams. And the past 3 years, I've ran the CS team at UserIQ. And now I've been lucky enough to have the privilege to be on the product side of UserIQ, and the best part about that for me is I'm able to serve the group that I've been a part of for so long, which is customer success. So I'm feel very lucky to be in the position to still serve CS through the product side of the house. All right, so a little bit about UserIQ. So at the end of the day, we know that customer success equals company success, right? And we designed UserIQ to give CS teams the tools that they need to, in a big way, predict customer outcomes and make a direct impact through their CS goals, really by nurturing more proactive behavior on teams. And our aim is, by doing that through the tools that are in our platform, we want to do that in obviously in intuitive and action-oriented ways. You and your CS team have to hit customer success goals, and making that as easy as possible for you and the team is really at the heart of what we do as a company every day. And with that in mind, let's get started. And big shout out to the team behind this product. Lucky to work with just the most passionate people out there that make this product great every day. And what you're about to see is really from all of their hands and collaboration. All right, so let's go into this next slide here. Okay, so we'll go into most of this within the demo, but there's some three kind of key takeaways. Can we create clear health signals that teams can understand? And through that is one way that you can create more proactive behavior. Retention is it's really more of a lag signal, so we want to try to start things earlier. And then if we can understand things early, well, sometimes things are off track. And can we leverage in-app messaging in some places to influence customer behavior towards the behaviors that we know lead to stickiness, lead to value, and ultimately lead to those retention outcomes that we want. And then, of course, we can also help CS teams understand product adoption, which is a huge part of it, right? And we'll go into some of the details of that. All right, so with that in mind, we'll start the overview demo of UserIQ. I want to set up just a quick scenario. I think that will help contextualize some of the insights inside our application. I'm going to play the role of a team lead, VP, director, what have you. And then there's going to be two CSMs we'll talk about. Caroline Ochoa, she's more of a newer CSM. And then Sydney Butler, she's one of the top performers on the team. So we'll reference these individuals a few times throughout the demo. Okay, so really at the top is just a filter bar. Anything that is listed in this bar helps shape the page that you're looking at. So let's imagine I'm looking at Caroline's accounts. So the filter bar just ultimately filters the whole page. Anything up here drives all the data cards that you see below it. What we have here at the very top, and I'm going to kind of talk fast, but hopefully everything's recorded and we can go back and reference it later. These cards are your standard back of the napkin observable metrics that you would see in a lot of places. Active users, your average health, how much ARR is under Caroline, my CSM's accounts, and what renewal she has coming up in the next 30 days. Okay, and going to this next area, this really shows the breakout of all of the accounts under Caroline's book, where they are sitting. And one of the things that I'm observing out of this is, the goal for me would try to help Caroline see where we can get a few of these accounts moved to the left. And what I really like about this area is there's somewhat of a game embedded in this. And when I talk to our clients about this area, what I tell them is set up individual goals and targets and team targets. So this is used correctly, this can be a very good way to set clear targets with your team and individual. And, somewhat set up some contests, set up some prizes, incentivize it. So we may say with a company, let's drive this down to 15% over the next month or quarter and try to increase this by 15%. So this is really just all about buckets and what the health score is in that bucket and how many accounts are in there. Okay. Moving to this next module, this is one of my favorites. This is called the Bubble Chart. And the biggest takeaway in this comes from an aggravation I've had over the years. And I think that it's often not as easy as it could be to understand who on your team is meeting the touch point model. And by touch point model, I mean, are we connecting with clients in the time frame that we agreed to connect with them or not? And being able to know the yes we are or no we are not very quickly for all team members, I just find it too hard right now. And that's a big part of what this chart is really seeking to solve. So let's make that quicker, let's make it more effortless, and let's not guess at who's meeting the touch point model and who's not. So let's look at a scenario of, let's imagine that at my company, our touch point model is every 30 days. So I'm going to change this. And now this line has moved to a 30-day period. And what I'm immediately looking at is I want to see all of the circles here. All of the circles represent accounts. I want to see all of them to the left. And if they're in front of the line, great, we met the touch point model. If they're over to the right, we're not connecting with our clients in the agreed upon time frame. So we need to try to work with the CSM that we're looking at here, which is Caroline, work with her to see where we can improve on that. And I'll probably take some of the things out of the view and focus on the ones that appear to be the riskier accounts and the larger circles, which are the largest in ARR that is up to potentially be lost in churn. And this is also great to take to a one-to-one with Caroline and really just show this on the page and see what she thinks could help turn this around. It's always the same old stuff. Overloaded, too many enterprise accounts, maybe didn't know about the touch point model, but there's reasons. So getting this into a one-to-one and setting up a game plan with that team member to get these more to the left is a great way to use this tool. Let's look at Sydney to provide some contrast to this story. So here's Sydney's accounts. What I immediately see here is there's nothing in riskier health scores. But I will bring this into one-to-one with Sydney to see, one, or do we need to in any way increase the engagement? Will that at some point lead to more risk? Or, what we might find, and I have seen some clients change this, some of your long-held opinions on cadence calls and when reviews of an account should happen and sync-ups, sometimes they end up extending out what their touch point model is. And UserIQ can accommodate that. Let's say you want to move it to 60 days. And then, so it looks like if that 60 days was my touch point model, Sydney's doing a great job of adhering to that. Okay. Moving to this next module, this is really just looking at trend data over time. And why? Why would we want to do that? If we can see this trend data in the biggest way related to health scores, trending upwards, trending downwards, or trending upwards or downwards, well, then we can call into question some of the tactics that we're doing over that time period. So you can really run the trend data off of a pretty large expanse of time here. And we can spot it early. If we see the trends downward, perhaps we need to change our tactical approach. So this is a great time to get CS huddled together and start to brainstorm on some things we can do different in the customer journey, customer life cycle, if you will. So this is just about spotting things earlier. And one thing too I didn't emphasize earlier, this is not a tool for executives. It is partly for executives, but it's also for us to empower the CS team. So I see a lot of self-correcting when the CSMs are able to see their own accounts and see their own trends, and it creates some of those behaviors earlier that makes it great for the executive and the outcomes at the business as well. So moving to this next one is this is called the Barbell Chart. And what's really in this chart is all about performance. So let's imagine that I want to look at all accounts at UserIQ. and well, not UserIQ, but just let's imagine a fake company here. And within the, let's see, we'll look at, well, we'll just stick to everyone here. So if I'm looking at everyone, what I'm looking at performance-wise out of this chart is what team member is creating the largest swings in health scores, the outcomes that we want, that we know translates to upsells and cross-sells and more advocacy and more value and more team members using your application. And what I immediately notice here, because I'm looking at the largest increases in health score, is about 90% of these are owned by Sydney, my one of the CSMs, and she's one of our top performers. So that's I'm not surprised by this, but it's good to see that that's happening. And then we can also look at the converse of that. So let's look at the largest decreases. So this is the areas where we are creating the most undesirable outcomes through the tactics that we're doing with these accounts. And you can also observe this over larger time periods as well. And it turns out, it's a connected story here. So we had Caroline Ochoa, who was not meeting with clients in the touch point model we had agreed upon. So there's some work that needs to happen there. And we're also seeing health scores moving in a different direction. So this is great because we don't have to question where it's coming from, which individual needs our help. And then we can start to talk about what is it that we can change. It could be the frequency of outreach needs to change a bit. It could be the tone of the messaging. It could be the content at which we're working with the client and meeting about. There's a whole gamut of things it could be, but it's really about let's focus on the area that needs it most. And right now, Caroline on the team needs the most help. One thing that I've also done with clients that I encourage is get the top performer and the person who has the lower health scores in the room together and come out of there with starts and stops. Things we're going to start doing, things we're going to stop doing. And a lot of times there's a really great short list that can be developed within 1 hour of those two individuals syncing up and collaborating towards those outcomes. So that's the barbell chart. And then as we get to the bottom here, this is just standard account level data that you can sort and look at in different ways. You've got your health scores, what the changes, the delta changes have been, and all of that good stuff. Okay, and let's go back to Caroline's accounts. And what we'll go into next is account detail. And all account detail is you've just clicked on one of the accounts. So this is a full breakout, kind of 360, a comprehensive view of one of the accounts that you own. So this one's Fund Holding Association. And we go from the health score and start to break down some different other areas where signals can come from, sentiment going up and down, the adoption score, are they engaging with the features? Are they logging in? Is their login frequency good? Days till renewal, all of that stuff is in the scorecard. And what we see here, again, is really trend level data, same as what you saw before. This is just dealing with one account. And then, of course, account details, standard records on the accounts that the CSM can update and keep fresh at any point in time. We can also understand when's the last time we communicated with this account and who did we communicate with. So we talked with Emma recently. And then what was the last NPS survey? So we also offer NPS surveys you can easily deploy inside of UserIQ. And that'll provide the score. And in some cases, a detractor score is a big signal for definitely feedback, voice of the customer feedback, some outreach that can be captured to understand what we could do to turn that into an advocacy score. And then, of course, the last activity can be tracked here as well. And then at the bottom, this is just a notes area that consolidates some of the goings on at the account. So what we can see here is the CSM, and this is me, but the CSM just escalated the Pulse score from satisfied to very satisfied. And why was that? Well, it was because we just signed a 3-year deal with this company. So this is just the threading of notes on this page. In addition to the insights we have here, in the interest of time, I'll just pop through these, but I really won't be able to give much detail on these pages. But these tabs kind of indicate how much data we have on the account that UserIQ can collect for you and those signals. So we have Sentiment signals, not just NPS. We have 2 other ways that we're capturing voice of the customer signals that can be used by the CSM and teams. Activity, we can track product adoption, adoption of your sticky features, all of that stuff that you want to keep track of. We can also give user detail. So you saw account detail earlier. Now we're looking at Damien, who is the user inside of the account. That's also available. And I think that's probably, with the interest of time, where we'll need to stop. But what I would also say is, you've seen we've just scratched the surface of what is in UserIQ. And well, I'll probably mention actually one other thing. With the insights that you've just seen, if the signals are clear, sometimes we'll see things that are off track, underutilization of features, just various amounts of signals that could potentially mean things are off track, depending on where the customer is in their life cycle. So there's multiple ways you can get things back on track. There's outreach, there's dropping them into a drip nurture, sending them access to the help center. There's re-onboarding, champion re-engagement, there's on-sites, all of that stuff. But there's another thing that's made easy by UserIQ, and that's the engagements, in-app engagements. So a good example is, you can see at any point in time what a customer is doing, what features they're using. And if you have a case of underutilization, let's say there's 600 people that are currently in your trial and they are underutilizing 2 of your primary stickiest features, right? If you can group those into a segment and then quickly send an announcement at next login to those 200 individuals. And that's a really good first line of defense, and it'll pick up some individuals and they'll go over from that announcement that says, hey, check out this new feature, or most people do this in the first week. And you can get a lift in the engagement with those sticky features. And that's something I always encourage, to do that first. And for the individuals that still don't utilize those features over time, it's great to add them into a drip nurture. And then at a certain point, it might be time for the CSM to add that to the agenda on their next cadence call with their client. So that's the engagements piece. That's about all I can go into the detail. But I would say, like I said earlier, we've only scratched the surface of it. And if you like what you've seen so far, we'd love to get together with you and talk through some of your scenarios. So please come see us at the virtual booth today. And we'd love to understand your CS goals. And of course, the team there can provide a more in-depth demonstration of the platform. So come see us.
Thank you so much, Lawton. That was so interesting. Definitely, as you mentioned, there is a booth that people can come and learn more about UserIQ and how to make customer success even easier. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
See you later.